touch is a really great cue for redirecting your dog, recalling your dog, or even just warming them up before training.
Sit. Down. Yes. Sit. Yes. Good girl. Sit. Down. Yes. Good girl.
You will cue come, and then when she turns and looks at you, you will mark yes and praise until she gets to you for the reward.
Bear, come.
If I call and she doesn't respond right away, I'm going to take a pause and then go to my backup noise to get her to follow through. It's important to practice this in a lot of different contexts, such as coming in from outside, out in public places, or other fenced-in areas that you may have. If you don't have access to a fenced area, then you can always use a long leash to keep her safe but still get that practice out and about in the world. Recalling out of play is another context to practice in. This is a really great way to break up any play that is getting out of hand.
Leave it. Yes, good girl.
I'm going to use leave it when I see her going for something that I don't want her to have. I'll cue leave it, and as soon as she backs away from the item, I will mark yes and then reward her.
Nice job.
This was a nice real life leave it with a Dorito on the street. When she has an item in her mouth that we want her to let go of, we're going to use our cue drop it. It's really important that if she has something that we don't chase her. As you can see, as soon as she got the item, she ran to another room. If I was coming right at her, she would have kept running. So I stayed back, dropped down low, cued my drop it as she approached, and offered her a trade by tossing a few treats on the floor.
Drop it. Yes, good girl.
Place means go to your bed, lay there, and stay there until released. Here in this session, we are practicing adding in more distraction, duration between reinforcement, as well as distance from her. You can see I'm practicing going out of sight. When we are adding in these distractions, such as going out of sight, we want to keep it short duration and build into really tiny baby steps. So you can see I'm barely stepping around the corner, coming back and rewarding her, and then repeating as I slowly work my way kind of around that wall until I can come back into the room and go out of sight for a little bit longer. Next, I go into the kitchen and I am doing things like opening the fridge, opening cabinets, doing things you might be doing around the house when you want her to stay. I want her to know that no matter what we are doing, we have asked her to stay and she should be there until she's released. I also want to practice coming back near her, standing, walking towards her without releasing her or giving her a treat, so she doesn't begin to anticipate that me coming close to her when she's on her bed means I'm either bringing her reinforcement or that I am releasing her. Here I'm also adding in some more distraction. As I said, I want her to know that no matter how crazy we're being or whatever we're doing, that we've asked her to stay and she needs to stay there until she hears that release word, free. Next, we work on place around the front door. This is to build up to things like asking her to place while you step out to get a package, or having her stay on her place while guests come in. So either she's not running out the door or she's not running and kind of jumping all over the guests as they enter. Start small by opening the door just a little or even jiggling the doorknob, marking and rewarding her for staying put during that. And then slowly build up to opening it more, being able to step more and farther out the door. If she gets up, I shut the door and we just reset and go again. If it happens multiple times in a row, then I'm going to kind of reset her, but also take a step back and go back to the last point she was successful in. So maybe just cracking the door open a little bit, rewarding her, and kind of building back up.
Ready? Place.
And lastly, we did some group place practice just to continue to proof this behavior and really get a solid foundation of being able to do place in a lot of different scenarios. And to end it, we
Molly.
work on being
Free.
released, not only with your release word, but
Bear.
also by
Free.
name in your release word.
Bear. Free.
Right now, the main goal of Bear's leash walks are two things. One is socialization and just getting out in the world and seeing things, as well as getting comfortable with the leash itself. In the beginning, she was very averse to the leash. As soon as there was any kind of tension or pressure on it, she would immediately kind of go into a bucking horse type mode where she wanted to get as far away from the leash and pull out of it and away from it as possible. As you can see, she's doing much better now and walking more, and less apt to kind of pull away from the leash. So that's where you can see this isn't like the most beautiful loose leash walking you've ever seen, but for her this has been a lot of really great progress, just getting comfortable with the harness and the leash, and then just getting out in the world and seeing different things. That scared her the first day. She was a little scared when she saw the fire hydrant and barked at it for quite a while. So those would be the two main goals I would focus on with her right now. Once she's more comfortable with both the leash and the outside world, then you can really get into and dig into loose leash walking skills. The main goal of this trip was socialization and just kind of getting out in the world, seeing new things, interacting with the environment. So here we're headed to the playground. So as we approach, you can already see that there's some kids there. It wasn't a super busy day, but there were some kids there playing. So seeing the playground equipment, as well as adults and children playing and making noise. Here she is just being her cute self on some of the playground equipment and with my son.
Paws up. Good girl.
Here we are just practicing some of her basic
Down.
commands like sit and down,
Yes, good girl.
just to see if she can respond to some of these cues in a new environment. That's, very stimulating.
Good girl.
Down. Down. Yeah.
Leave it. Yes, good girl.
And that's a wrap on Bear's training.